States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Public hearings, we have none, but we do have a resolution I'm going to jump to. Review, discussion, and possible action on Resolution 2025-06 to recognize the service of Trustee Chris Krasovich. She's asked that if she could be first on the list because she has...
She has important plans tonight.
That's right.
All right, tell me where to
I
go.
want the best camera.
Oh, you guys told me where to go.
Yeah. Resolution recognizing the service of Trustee Chris Krasovich to the Village of Pewaukee. Whereas the Village of Pewaukee is governed by a village board of 6 trustees and a village president, and whereas these elected officials have the highest responsibility in the tradition of American democracy, they present the will of the people, and whereas these elected officers set the policy for the village, lend direction to village staff, and confront all major issues facing the community, and whereas the duties and responsibilities of these elected officers require dedication, commitments of time, a love of public service, desire for justice, and a passion for the village, and whereas the flourishing state of the village and its highest quality of life are dependent upon residents who take the time to hold these offices and execute their duties, and whereas Chris Krasovich served as village trustee from 2021 to 2025, during which time she represented the Board of the Public Works, the Safety Committee, the Library Board, the Sex Offender Residency Appeal Board, and whereas Chris Krasovich also gave of her time to Friends of Pewaukee, of the Parks of Pewaukee, Friends of Pewaukee Library, and the Women's Club of Pewaukee, and the Volunteer Service Club of Pewaukee. Therefore, be it resolved by the Village Board of the Village of Pewaukee, Waukesha County, Wisconsin, that it hereby extends its heartfelt appreciation for the dedication given to the Village of Pewaukee by Chris Krasovich while serving as village trustee, dated this 15th day of April 2025, signed by Jeffrey Knudsen, Village President, and Jenna Village Clerk.
Speech.
Chris, would you like to say a few words, if you'd want to or not?
Chris Krasovich, 1055 Oak Circle. I will say that it has been my absolute privilege to serve alongside the members of the village board. Each of these seats is filled by an individual who brings something unique and valuable and special. And when they contribute to the collective, I know they're unified by a single goal, and that is the betterment of this community. So I know that I'm leaving the village in great hands, and that makes it super easy to go to music bingo. Thanks, you guys.
Why it's so hard for me to read those. Item 3, approval of minutes of previous.
We need
Should we do roll call?
call attendance.
Huh?
Attendance.
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could I get roll call, please?
Sure. Trustee Grabowski.
Here.
Trustee Kreiser.
Here.
Trustee Pater.
Here.
Trustee, who do I have down there? Okay, trustee Rhodey.
Here.
Trustee, is it Stauff? Okay, I just wanted to say it right. And then trustee Belt is excused, and then President Knudsen.
Here. Public hearings, we have none again. Approval of minutes of previous meeting dated April 2nd, 2025. I hope everyone's had a chance to look them over. Are there any questions, comments, or corrections as the way they are presented this evening? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve as presented, please.
Motion to approve minutes as presented.
Second, Rhodey.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, item 4, citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, with time being indicated by an audible alarm. When the alarm sounds, speakers are asked to please conclude their comments. Speakers are asked to use the podium and state their name and address for the record. I will ask, is there anybody in the audience that would like to make a comment at this time? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Rebecca Wolensing, and I live at 506 Partridge Court. That's in the Pewaukee Park Hill subdivision, and I'd like to speak in opposition to the cruising ordinance. Due to the changes that were made with that intersection with the railroad crossing, I have to traverse past past the beach multiple times per day in order to get where I'm going throughout the village to use my municipal services like the library and come here, and also to use my local businesses. And by limiting my access to only twice past the beach in a 2-hour period, I think I won't be able to access the businesses as often as I would need to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment? It can be on anything you'd like.
I'm Tim Steidel with Mixon Lakeside Beach Bar. That's going to be going up on the lakeside there. I'm going to dovetail off what she's saying. I was going to talk to you, but we do need to control some of the speed down there. It's getting a little ridiculous, and the revving of the engines, it gets annoying when you have your business open and it's loud mufflers going by and they rev their engines just to make themselves look good. So I would prefer if we could try and mitigate that with, I'll help the police or whatever we need to do to try and mitigate that to be a little bit more of a safer place, because I think we want people to come and go across the streets nicely and not have any accidents. So that's one thing that we do need to watch out. And as I've been a business down there for now 2 summers, it seems like it's getting more and more of a nuisance for us, because we'll have people inside our building and then they rev the engines and it's so loud it's almost ear piercing. So just wanted to bring it up. I'm not trying to create any, but
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment? Anything at all? Could be the Brewers losing anything. Okay, if not, then we're going to move on. Ordinance number 5 is ordinances. Review, discussion, and possible action on ordinance 2025-02. An ordinance to create chapters 86, Article 11 of the Municipal Code of the Village of Pewaukee regarding the prohibition of cruising. Who would like to take this?
I mean, I could.
Jim?
We had the discussion before. I can jump in and,
Okay.
or Matt, if you want to jump in. If I missed something, that's fine. This was brought up, or this came out of a discussion, a meeting that Trustee Rhodey and I had with a couple business and property owners downtown regarding concerns during the summer months for safety of the beachgoers and the pedestrians, as well as just the general congestion and everything that happens down along our beachfront during that busy period. Looking deeper into it, there's many municipalities that have passed almost a carbon copy of the ordinance that's being proposed, which has been litigated all the way up to the Supreme Court and found admissible or relevant, or however the legal wording wants to say, defensible, anything along those lines. I proposed it here, we discussed it, addressing some of the citizens' concerns both in email and in person. There is an intent portion on this that Chief can speak of. It's not just, we're sitting there with a clicker clicking every car that drives past. If your intent is commerce or actually traversing that, it is not applicable to the ordinance that is in front of us today. This is strictly for recreational, non-destination cruising. I don't know how else you want to word it and try to be polite about it. This is about nuisance cruising. This isn't about just traversing the pathway. But outside of that, everything in it is pretty straightforward as of what has been passed in other municipalities. We did set a time frame of, I believe, May through October, which matches our downtown lake season or busy period, and then the hours throughout the day into the evening. So that's kind of the background on what we have in front of us here. Matt, do you have anything to add real quick?
I guess just to
Of my description.
No, I think your recitation of the background is spot on, as well as the comments you made regarding that this is an issue that's been well litigated. So we did our best at a staff level to draft something that will be defensible in that it is based off of the ordinances in Hales Corners, City of Milwaukee, Greenfield, those communities that have already done this, done the legwork, so to speak, of taking this to the Supreme Court and having it found constitutional. So I would say that the one departure that you will see in our ordinance compared to some of the other ones, it's more of, I guess, the issue that's being addressed. Cruising ordinances on the books are usually more geared toward nighttime cruising, but that's obviously not what the issue that the village is having here. So that would be the one difference, but I guess in reading the case law as I have, the court is more interested in being as targeted as possible, not necessarily with specific hours being daytime or nighttime, but just having specific hours and being as limited as possible. So that's what we've done here. The chief can speak to the discretion the officers are going to use in enforcing this. But I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think Trustee Grabowski hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I talked to people at Wolf on it when this was presented by Mr. Grabowski. What do you guys think about it? There are people that draw attention to themselves. They play loud music, they squeal their tires, they, like I said, loud mufflers that drive by. They pretty much are spotted by not only the business owners, but also by an officer that's either on the beat, writing parking tickets, and oftentimes we can't catch them because traffic is backed up, so it's not like we see somebody and we can pull somebody over, because oftentimes we're 5 or 6 cars ahead. So the fact that you chose to target the owner via the license plate, that would help us. We also have cameras that if it's brought to our attention by a business owner, by someone that's sitting having dinner and saying the same car has done this, we have certain mechanisms in place. A lot of work involved in it, because you have to go back and look at somebody that's in a tour period driving this car for 3 times. But I think the big thing is officer discretion. I mean, if it is somebody that is driving past there, going to the dump, as one example was given, making 2 trips to the dump is bringing you 4 times past the checkpoint. There's reasons why they're going, there's officer discretion. However, the people that would be identified as cruising, again, they're bringing attention to themselves. So the officers are in favor of it. It's nothing that we brought to the board ourselves. So the fact that business owners are asking for this means it's the public, it's the businesses that we want to succeed. Clearly, having so many people outside dining, there's more people in the street than ever before, more people sitting there for hours at a time, and it's just something that we don't object to.
Yes, Bob.
As Trustee Grabowski mentioned, I was in the same meeting with the business owners. I think the key thing that I needed to hear, I just heard from the chief. He said this is something the police officers are in favor of. In a sense, it's another tool in your toolkit for making an environment that people want to enjoy in downtown Pewaukee by taking care of the nuisance cruising that does people trying to draw attention to themselves. So hearing what you say, I'm very much in favor of this ordinance. It's not going to be affecting people that are just driving through town. It's the people that are driving through town, drawing attention to themselves, and creating problems.
So my thoughts in reading the ordinance the way it was drafted, I think, can we be a little more specific about that in the actual ordinance? Is that important from your legal perspective? Because I do hear the concern of people, you know, I mean, I drive my kid past there to go to camp in the summer and, you know, they forget something, like I'm back and forth through there 4 times. Like, I totally get that concern. And it doesn't, do you think that is like as specific as it can be in here to not take anything away from, you know, the tool that you guys are looking for?
I understand the question. What I will say is, in looking at the other ordinances on this subject, what the other communities have done, there's only one that includes a specific intent provision defining what an officer has to look for and consider. That is the exception, not the rule, in the way that these have been drafted. My preference would be to stick with what the majority has done and leave the officer's broad discretion in enforcing this, not having some sort of mandated checklist in terms of intent that they have to look at. I think Chief is right. This is meant for a specific subset of drivers, so we keep the definition broad to allow the officers to enforce it in their discretion.
They also, step 1 is getting a ticket. Step 2 is you get a court date. So if it is something where somebody wants to plead their case to a judge, want to have a trial, want to talk to a village attorney about this, giving their reasons why, officer made one determination, a citation is going to be issued, there is a second step where somebody could be heard more in depth.
Right, and I think I'm satisfied with that protection rather than pigeonholing an officer in the ordinance on what they have to look for on every case.
I think the big, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, you go ahead. I have one more.
I was gonna say, I think the big thing is as has been stated, you have to be doing something to have attention drawn to be that memorable. You know, it's not just someone's gonna call and be like,
Well, you just have a really cool car.
yeah, I want to say like a white minivan drove past me while you know, I could tell you how many times I've sat out there and had a meal or a drink and didn't pay any attention what cars were driving past until that, you know, VW Jetta that's lowered with a huge muffler goes by, you know, backfiring. It's like, oh, all right, well, now I just went by again, you know, because they're calling attention to them. I didn't notice the, you know, 2003 Ford Taurus that just drove past, you know. I don't know how many times they, you know, went on the street. It's the people that are driving recklessly, are being a nuisance, are creating the safety issue that are going to get called out. So that's the portion of it. But
So from your professional opinion, Chief, is the people that are being called out, the people are talking about the mufflers and the, I don't know what else the terms are, but being a true nuisance, is this the best way to try to control that, since it's more about how many times they drive by?
Yeah, I think it's another tool in the toolbox. However, if you've got that person with the loud muffler that you've seen go by, oftentimes, we can't catch up to that car. We're gonna have signs in place that say what the rules are. We're gonna hold people accountable for their actions, and if they decide to give their son the car and they get a ticket in the mail, now there's something that a parent can talk to their son or daughter and say, I got this ticket, I have to be responsible for this, and it's some conversations that can take place. But otherwise, the loud music goes on, and we really can't. If you're parked in the parking lot by Brewers 2, and you're watching crowd, and it comes by, sometimes traffic doesn't stop to allow the cop to catch up to them, and then when they hit the streets, they're gone, and we can't find them. We don't know essentially who they are, and then there's a lot more steps involved. This holds the car owner responsible for who they allow to drive the car, and I think this is probably the best way to curb this. And again, very labor intensive for this. I mean, you've got to have an officer that sees this, you have to think that, everybody that drives that now should not continue in specific 2 hours. However, they've seen the same car go by time after time after time. In some cases, there's nothing they can do about it.
The hope is also that word of this gets out, and then first or second time it's enforced, then word of that starts spreading, and it becomes a situation where you're not having the cases as frequent because it's now a known ordinance on the books, and enforcement is in place. So it's more, it becomes a deterrent at that point.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
So recently we passed that we're allowed to use golf carts. And then I want to ask about that because there's going to be
can't.
cruising attempts in golf carts for joy. I have a friend that does that already. And then we're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. So what about motorcycles? Is it the same thing apply to motorcycles as vehicles? Because they're a vehicle. Those are naturally loud, kind of disturbing, and they like to cruise as well.
So to answer the first part, that came up last meeting, the golf carts have to follow the same rules of the road as all vehicles. So those will be enforced just the same. Matt could speak on the verbiage of if this encompasses motorcycles as well.
It would.
Okay.
It would. It's important to note, though, that the noise and the loud muffler, that's not a part.
It's a safety issue down there with reckless driving and everything.
Right, but they don't have to, there's not a loud muffler that necessarily triggers a violation under the cruising ordinance. It's something that like the chief said, would draw attention to a potential cruiser, but the definition of cruising is the driving by more than twice in a 2 hour period. So a motorcycle in and of itself just being loud, that's not gonna be a violation under this ordinance.
Unless he stops and he revs his engine and then just keeps doing it down the way. Would that trigger this?
If he does that and travels past the traffic control point more than twice, yes.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. So what was the response to the golf carts?
It would be.
Same as a
Same as.
Yep. The ordinance that was passed in the golf cart provides that the rules of the road essentially apply to the golf cart. This would be one of the rules of the road.
Any other questions or comments? I have a question for the young lady who had a concern. Are you more relaxed with what we're doing? Do you understand now the ordinance better?
I understand the intent, but that's open to interpretation of an individual, and then requires someone to have to disagree with that. So it could be used nefariously if intended, if they wanted to.
I'll make a motion
Certain
to,
parts of the village forced me to go past the beach more often. Like, the village and the railroad created a problem of forcing tons of individuals to have to go down by the beach now. And so you added congestion to the beach, and now you're adding additional things on top of it that restrict our motion.
okay, as long as you're not squealing your tires going down Main Street, then, okay. I'll make a motion to
Wait.
approve the ordinance as proposed.
Yes.
There's a motion on the floor.
Do I have a second?
Second, Rhodey.
Further comment?
I just feel like we're being a little unclear. If, the comment about the squealing the tires, like the attorney just said, that's not actually a part of this. So I do want to make sure we're being clear in that is two the normal amount of time that people refer to in these ordinances?
More than 2, yes. I have seen some say more than 3, but I would say the majority are more than 2.
But I still.
Can I have further discussion for a second? I'll put it out there, I guess. As a frequent cruiser of Highway 100 back in my teenage years,
Oh, did you see Jeff there? He talked about that last time.
I like the ordinance, and I want safety of the beach, and I want less congestion. I want the business members to be happy and business owners to be happy. I'm a little worried with the intent of the police officers. They could target somebody, and I guess it's just like speeding, though. You pick out the one you want to actually pull over, because there's going to be multiple people going past 2 times in 2 hours. But what's the efficacy of it? It didn't stop me from cruising, at all. And if you go down there on a Friday night, they're still cruising. So I'm not sure. Have we talked that through?
You want to ask the chief how much his officers are going to enforce the law? Is
Well,
is what the efficacy is, you know,
Yeah,
so.
I want to, I mean, I know friends that got cruising tickets and they keep cruising. I mean, hopefully it's a deterrent, but, I mean,
Isn't that all, but like you said, that's all laws. I mean, we have 1 hour parking throughout the village, but I can
Right.
assure you, there's people that park longer than an hour. You
Right.
hope you don't get caught. It's the deterrent. It's to try to curb or educate or have corrective measures or enforcement if applicable.
But the person the resident that brought up the issue, she made it clear that, you know, I understand the ordinance, but what's the intent? And it's the sole discretion of a person to enforce it. Yeah.
I do have some concerns about the 2 times and just the people who are living their lives. I have concerns about that. I don't want to waste any of the officers' time and the, you know, unnecessary investigations. And I don't want there to be fear in the community of, you know, oh, I have to go back across the beach to get to there, you know, am I going to get pulled over? Well, I would rather close the street down than and do everything we can to support the businesses and the safety down there. I don't know that I am sold that we are doing what we want to do with this, but can be swayed as well.
Well, it sounds like a step in the right direction,
Which one?
the cruising ordinance, right? I mean, is it, so, okay, me being new, I apologize. So if this is something that we go ahead and we put the motion and we pass, there's a time where we could dissolve it as well, right?
Any ordinance that comes on the books can always be repealed, sure.
Okay.
But it's a process.
But it's a process. It would take the same action of the board at a future date to repeal an ordinance that it would to
Right.
enact it. So.
We have a motion and a second.
Yeah, I have a motion and a second, but this is highly unlikely, not normal. But would the board allow the owner to speak one more time? Yes, you had a question.
I know that, sorry, I can't speak from here, but I need to
Go up to the microphone,
Go to the
please.
microphone, please. Just state your name again.
Tim Stidle. I know that all that summer, I can pick out 6 cars that go by and rev their engines. A white pickup truck that looks like it should be up in Dodge County. Souped up black sedan looking.
Dodge Charger.
Yes. And a few other ones that go by our business, and we'll have our doors open with people inside, and they'll just, right at that door, they'll launch it. And there's no rhyme or reason, because I'm right, my first business was right by the condos where the first walkway is. And I just let it go. I'm like, it's just kids being kids. But it gets annoying, and now that it's brought to our attention, I would love to see the street shut down from Memorial Day to Labor Day. I think it would be great for the community. It would be great to have more options for people to walk across and be harder. I know from a service standpoint for the police and the fire people, it would be hard to get across to where they have to get to. So that's some of the nuances that we would need to work on. But I would be a big advocate to help with our business control that, because I get annoyed, and granted, I was like you, like to go drive around and have fun and stuff. But when you're in a small community like the lake, it's very difficult. And when you have people up against the street dining and having fun with their families or significant others or whoever, and you get that popping sound or that loud music, it's tough. And I don't want to put any more stress on the chief or the police. The police are wonderful people. They're the best that we've ever had in this community, not Hall and everywhere. But it does need to get controlled, and I have gotten annoyed, but I just keep my mouth shut because, again, I don't know anything about what's going on, but I do agree something needs to be done. I would prefer to see the street shut down from Memorial Day to Labor Day. I think it would be great for the community, and it would be great for the businesses. We have plenty of parking in many other areas of the community that people can park at, and for the hours that it is, it's not really much more than an hour there, so. But it does need to get curbed, I do agree. But I also want to say that a mom with a minivan driving back and forth is not the issue.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion on this topic?
What are your thoughts, President Knutson?
Well, my thoughts were, I like the ordinance. I think we do need to do something about the cruising. But the way I read the ordinance more was to the noise and air pollution, which to me is noise too, and of the businesses downtown. I felt that it was covering that more than just somebody driving by maybe 3, 4, 5 times a day within a time period. I have that tendency to do that myself. Coming here to Village Hall, going to the library, doing that, whatever. So I can understand people being concerned about possibly being picked out, but it also, again, I'm looking at this, if you're driving past it back and forth, but you're not calling attention to yourself with either loud music or revving your engine or having a noisy engine or exhaust, I don't see any problem. But I do know our officers. They're a great bunch of people. They're not going to be out there taking license numbers of every person that drives past them just to make sure that they don't drive past more than once or twice. But I just want to make sure that that is what's going to happen, that it's going to be put down to the guy or the man or the woman that is driving through town with a noisy exhaust, with a noisy stereo going, revving their engines, causing the disturbance, and making it seem like, hey, look at me type of situation. And I think that's what I hope this ordinance is going to do. If not, it sounds like that is what it's going to do, but if it's not what that I am looking at, I may have a question about approving it. I guess, I don't know who I should ask, Matt or the chief. I don't know how we can.
Well, the words are literally driving past the area more than twice in a 2-hour period. And the more we talk about it, the less comfortable I feel about us passing something that's in an ordinance that we want our citizens to follow, but saying you won't get picked out if you're not causing attention to ourselves. So can we make it a little more specific in the wording about these type, the things that we actually want to be calling out versus leaving it open-ended for just the twice in a 2-hour period? I understand that's more limiting, but I don't want to pass something and then say, well, that's not really what we meant if it's not specifically in there.
Sure. So if the board wishes, there is, like I mentioned before, there are communities that have put in an intent provision, giving the officers some more specific guidance on what they should be looking for before making a determination to issue a citation. If the board wishes, I can present that to them at a future meeting, but I'm not in a position to present, I guess, more specific language on that point sitting here right now.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the ordinance as it's given to us tonight, and we have a second. If I can call a roll call, or I can ask the gentleman who asked to have the ordinance adopted, would he be willing to rescind his motion and have this brought back with more specific language?
I mean, I'm inclined to not rescind it and just take the vote on it, but are we not able to add an amendment to the ordinance as presented right now?
Not without specific language.
Not without specific
No,
language.
and I'm not comfortable just taking a general direction to add an intent provision. I would
Okay.
be more comfortable with the board actually seeing the language before we adopt it.
You said only one community has the intent provision,
To my knowledge, yes.
and you've looked at how many?
Oh, about 8 or 10.
So I will ask again, the trustee, Jim, would you be willing to remove your action to approve the ordinance, then have it brought it back with more specific language?
Before I do that, Matt, are you, I'm trying to think how to word this. I want to say comfortable with an addition or, because I know the intent was to not stray from the existing case law that's out there. Do you feel there is a path to add a direction for specific?
Yes, I don't think adding an intent provision weakens the ordinance from a legal defense standpoint. I think my concern was more an enforcement standpoint of what that does to the officer in the field. But if we add an intent provision, it's not going to, that the specific community I'm thinking of, I believe is the city of West Bend, that intent provision has been tried and tested and passed, so. It doesn't weaken the ordinance from a legal defense standpoint, it's more ease of enforcement, I guess, is my concern. I don't take a position either way. If the board, I understand the concerns, and making it as specific as possible.
I'm just,
So if that's the direction, we can certainly do that. But go ahead.
I'm also trying to think that would that intent also then create a loophole for, let's say, some guy with a loud, obnoxious muffler that wants to go down Main Street, rev the engine, go grab a cookie at the coffee shop, go back, rev his engine, turn around, rev his engine, go down and grab a soda at somewhere, then turn around and rev his engine. And so when he gets pulled over, he goes, wow, I was buying stuff. See, that's my intent. So now did we just create that loophole?
Not in the issuing of the citation, because at the end of the day, the officer is still making the determination.
Okay.
If somebody were to make that argument, I'm sure they would bring it to municipal court and make the arguments whether we had an intent provision in there or not.
Okay.
So I don't think adding it would create that sort of loophole.
Then, as much as I hate kicking cans down the road and feel the wheels of government grind slow,
It's the first time we're seeing this, so, I mean, is it officially written up?
to make those on the board more comfortable with it, I will remove my motion as long as it's brought back next meeting. Do we feel confident that we can have it drafted by then?
Absolutely.
Bob, are you okay with your second being to withdraw?
No, I would have preferred that we vote on the current language that we have. If it wasn't adopted, that would have been fine. We could have revised it and come back with it at that point. I would have preferred to just have a decision tonight. That's fine.
Okay. Okay, so then we'll be bringing this back at the next meeting for approval with more.
So if that is the case, so if the motion has been withdrawn, what I would look for is then a motion to defer action to the next meeting.
Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to defer action to the next meeting with more specific language on the intent to try to alleviate the concern of our residents driving for a purpose versus the people that we are actually trying to reduce being a nuisance. How is that worded?
Do I have a second?
Thorough?
Anybody would like to make a second? Go ahead if you want.
I second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Old business, we have none. Item 8, new business. Review, discussion, and possible action to schedule 2 special meetings of the village board to consider appeals of the 2024 fire EMS protection fees. I hope everyone's had a chance to look at their schedules. Anybody have, Matt, do you have anything that you would like to put forward as dates, or the board have any?
I would suggest that we just do it at 5 o'clock on May 6th, our first meeting of May.
May 6th? Is everybody okay with that at 5?
Just to be clear, scheduling both, because there's 2 hearings on the docket, so there would be 2 property owners. So knowing how these went last year, it may bleed over past the 6 o'clock start time, which is fine from a legal perspective, but just for scheduling.
We just have to set the village meeting to start at the conclusion of the special meeting.
Correct.
I can do that.
That's fine.
Okay, 5, 6 at 5 p.m. Or should we schedule one and then one for another meeting?
Nope, that sounds like they're both on the 6th.
Okay.
Do we need a motion?
5, 6 at 5 p.m. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to set the special meeting for appeals on May 6th at 5 p.m. with village board meeting preceding the village board meeting.
Second, Rhodey.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Review, discussion, and possible action on new Class B beer license, Class B intoxicating liquor for the Lakeside Beach Bar LLC, Mixon Lakeside. Matt, you want to just kind of briefly give us what this is about?
Actually, I'll defer to the village clerk who
All right.
had prepped her microphone.
The
for
nervous
question.
person who's always nervous. Okay. So I received an application from Mixon. They are moving from, I believe, Unit 3 to Unit 1. This will be for the full Class B combo license. Twisted Vine did surrender theirs, so that is available. I just want to remind everybody these are fiscal year. So it will still expire on June 30th of 2025, so they will still need to do their next one for the year, starting on July 1st, 2025 through the next session. And then I would just say, if we could just add a condition that they just be paid in full prior to the issuance of the license.
Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Make a motion to approve the Class B beer license and Class B intoxicating liquor license for Lakeside Beach Bar LLC, Mixon Lakeside.
Second, Kreiser.
Is that with the staff condition?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope.
With adding the village clerk's,
That they're paid in full.
yes, conditions. Thank you. Jeez.
Second is good? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Review and discussion of an update on the Quiet Zone project. Matt?
Thank you, President Knutson. I don't have really much to add to the staff memo. The board was looking for some sort of an update on a timeline, and the engineer provided that. And that is proceeding. He is working on scheduling the diagnostic review meeting. The one caveat that is a moving variable right now is whether the Federal Railroad Agency will require an upgrade to the detection equipment at those 2 intersections, those 2 crossings. Currently, they're just motion detectors, and the engineer is trying to determine if they'll be required to be upgraded to the constant warning systems.
Are there any questions or comments?
Matt, just, and did you ever get any indication if the Federal Railroad wants to stick us with the bill, what the cost of something might be for those signals?
So the village engineer did look into that, and Canadian Pacific, the Canadian Pacific website has some information on that. Unfortunately, it's not very clear on their website. The website discusses installation of safety equipment at a crossing, the entire spectrum of safety equipment, like the dropping gates and the lights and the noises. So it was difficult for the engineer to kind of pull that out. The price range per crossing listed on the website was between $100,000 and $400,000 for the whole package.
So we could just go to Amazon and get a constant motion sensor and put it up ourselves? I'm just kidding. Well, fingers crossed they won't require that.
Otherwise, that's it for my update. Thank you.
Thanks for actually getting a schedule with dates, because a lot ask about it, so appreciate it.
Well, yeah, we'll get that on the website as well.
Perfect.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Matt. Okay, item D, review, discussion, and possible action regarding the purchase and installation of updated security cameras at Lehman Park. We have Nick here from the Park and Rec Department.
Yep. So in case, for any of our new members, if you're not familiar, the village owns Lehman Park, which is 129 Park Avenue. It is where Beachside Boat and Bait operates out of. It is its own fund. It does not receive any village tax dollars. It generates its own revenue, pays its own bills, and has actually supported other park projects in recent years. The property, which I believe the village purchased in 2014-15, and through the process had cameras installed likely around 2016. The cameras are a bit outdated, and we're looking to have them upgraded. We have a few different issues there. It's on its own network, so it's very convoluted and cumbersome how we would have access to it at City Hall. It's very inconsistent with how often it works. It's more consistent that it doesn't actually. So when we do need to review footage, it's been a real pain in the butt to try to do so. It also doesn't have the functionality or the distance or basically full 360 of what we would be able to capture with the new camera system that we are proposing. I believe Administrator Heiser had sent over the new map earlier today, so hopefully you saw that. If you have not, and when I say map, I say camera layout, so if you haven't, I have a few extra copies here. But really, you're seeing that the different colors are for the different styles of camera, a wide angle lens or something that has more depth. So I'm hoping that that shows you a little bit more. We do believe that the cameras will actually be able to capture the length of the gas pier, which is one of the intentions of this, because we have had some issues there in the past. But also we worked with the tenant when we were looking into this, and they were in favor of this because they also have them as security cameras or operational cameras on their TV system, and it would help them help us sell gas. So part of their tenant contract is the gas sales, and they don't always have someone sitting on the end of the dock waiting to dispense the gas for the customer. It's not a self-serve, it's a employee service gas operation. And often, as much as this maybe sounds like a first world problem, people don't like to get off their boat to come in and tell you they need gas. They want to pull up and have their gas dispensed for them. So that is part of the intention with this, is to make it a little easier on their staff and provide better service. This is something that we brought before the Parks and Recreation Board in, I believe, March, and they approved it there with a recommendation to come before you all. And part of the reason it's before you is this was not a budgeted expense for 2025. This would be paid out of the Lehman Park fund balance, to which there probably sits between $290,000 and $310,000. This quote is at $11,000. The Parks and Recreation Board approved it up to $15,000 to give us a little wiggle room in case something changed. Hopefully that provides enough depth, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
I'm glad there was an updated map, because the original one, the missing areas, I was like, I don't know if you've been down there on a busy day, but you're gonna miss a lot of fights. So, because the area that was not covered is definitely where the arguments occur. And in fact, even on the updated one, if it was possible for the one that's corner here that has a lot of overlap just on what would be a brick wall over there, if that could rotate a little to catch the full lane of the boat queuing or the trailer queuing, and then try to catch the end of the actual public boat launch dock, it would be great. But that would just be my recommendation, just to have maximum coverage on where the people are. But I'm all in favor of updated cameras there, because it's chaos on certain days there. So thanks for the initiative.
Yeah. Yes.
I think I'd mention, especially for the new trustees, the Lehman Park Fund, those funds come from slip fees and gasoline sales and building rental, okay? And that fund is kept separately, and in order for funds to be used out of there, a supermajority of the village board has to approve the use of those funds, usually with a recommendation from the Park and Rec coming to us first, just so you're aware of the specifics when we created that fund.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Nick, I do have one question, though. There is a discrepancy here. The old picture shows the one camera going all the way to the end of the two docks, and the new one doesn't show the camera going all the way to the end of the dock.
Yeah, I'm very confident in what we can achieve with a camera for the gas pier.
Okay, that's all
East
I'm
or the
concerned
farther
about.
one. That one, in my mind, is much more important. It's gonna be really difficult with the amount of lifts and boats on the slip pier, which is the one on the left, if you're looking at the lake, to actually see the end of the pier either way, even with a higher up mounted camera. So a little pre-meeting conversation we had, the vendor was at a trade show today when he put this together, and while it's better than the first one, isn't quite what we had spoke about. From working with them on, I think we have 6 other parks that have cameras. I don't have a doubt that they can achieve it. I think the price is gonna be really close to what they have. It was just not the best work from them on what they prepared for us. If we somehow can't achieve that, or the price would change, we would certainly come back, but I believe from the conversations with them, we can achieve it.
Kristen, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, we talked about this. I definitely think it's necessary, especially when Nick was saying how they can't access it with their other system, where they look at all the other parks on camera-wise. We also talked about getting it to the end of the pier, and it seemed like like what Nick just said, with the lifts and things like that, we might not have great visibility anyways, but that this was probably the most conservative view of how far these cameras can get, was my understanding, so.
Yeah, and one thing, this camera system is not able to be accessed by the village police department. The other camera system is, so that's been really helpful. I know they have access to the Lakefront Park camera, the Village Park cameras. They've used those to help them with different cases in the past. This is like a grueling task to try to pull footage from this and
current
then
system.
record it. Say the current system, the new system is much easier. We actually just provide them access so they can utilize it as needed.
That was gonna be my question, was how the new system is hosted, because DPW has asked if it's possible to have access to be able to monitor weeds and lake conditions at the launch. So they would be able to have access to it then? Or set up with a
At the
access?
launch, yeah. Obviously, we don't have anything for the beach. We wouldn't.
No,
but, yeah.
it's talking about these cameras for the
Yeah.
launch. So, okay.
Yeah,
Because
I mean, it's
then that's where they,
software and app based.
yeah, that's where they pile up and take them out at the launch, and so they can monitor, see if they have to come by and grab
Yeah.
them. So, okay, perfect.
Okay, I have one question for the board. Because of the complexity of the cameras, and we do have a price of $11,341, I believe it was, would Nick, would you be better served if we gave you a 10 or 20% upgrade as far as, so you don't have to keep coming back to us, like maybe not to exceed 14,000 or 15,000?
I would say with the health of the fund, if you can follow the Parks and Recreation Board at 15, that probably gives me the best authority to complete the project without coming back here. I'm hopeful that it stays right at that number. It's a quote. That's what we're working off of, but just in case there is something else, we're only asking for another maybe $1,000 beyond that, and 20% of, we're getting close to 15 already.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Do I have a motion then?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of the cameras for the Lehman Park from the Lehman Fund, not to exceed $15,000.
Second, Kreiser.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried then. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
Review, discussion, and possible action to confirm committee appointments by me. Okay, we're gonna, excuse me while I get down here. Okay, on the Board of Review, I have one regular member, Chris Krasovich. I would like to, can I just go through them all and just do one big motion for all of them?
Sure. I would ask, I guess, the board has in its packet a memorandum listing all of the village president's intended nominees. In reviewing that, would any of the board members have a request to remove any of the individual nominees and consider them separately? So not seeing any requests, a motion to approve all of the nominees as presented would be appropriate.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna do.
I'd like to make a motion to accept all of the appointments from the village president.
Second, Grabowski.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Thank you, everybody. Citizen comments. Oops, excuse me. Review, discussion, and possible action to approve checks and invoices for all funds, March 2025. I will look for a motion to approve all funds except for the library as presented this evening.
Motion to approve, Rhodey.
Second, Kreiser.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I will look for a motion to acknowledge the library funds as presented this evening.
Motion to acknowledge the library fund as presented.
Second, Grabowski.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion again is hereby carried. Citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, with time being indicated by an audible alarm. When the alarm sounds, speakers are asked to conclude their comments. Speakers are asked to please use the podium and state their name and address. Is there anybody here that would like to make a comment? Sir? Yes.
Kevin Schneck, 630 West Wisconsin Avenue, Lot 17. So far as the cruising ordinance goes, I was definitely on the wrong side of that. I had a delivery job. I had a car that was one that would stand out like you wouldn't believe. The minute law enforcement found out it was actually my job, I never saw any problems from anyone. The officers took care of everything. The first department that pulled me over related to everybody else. So I know it's all in their hands, but I've never had a problem when I had that job for over a year.
Okay.
Just thought I'd throw that one out there too, particularly someone very worried about it.
Thank
And
you
here
very
we're a
much.
small community, so I believe that they would get to know us much faster.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I was just looked down, I didn't see you.
My name is Chris Stock. I reside at 506 Partridge Court in Pewaukee and Park Hills neighborhood. I just want to speak in support of the amendment to clarify the intent for the cruising ordinance. Thank you for Trustee Kreuzer and Stout for speaking about that. The reason that I am in support of that amendment is that, while I do understand in the interest of both public safety and cutting down on public nuisance, that there is, a desire for this cruising ordinance. I just want to make sure that, all of our residents do feel that the ordinance is as applicable as possible without infringing upon, normal day-to-day operations of residents within the area, as well as people conducting commerce within our village, coming from outside, wherever. So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that I'm in support of that amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay, then, village is gonna go into closed session. We will be opening again, so if you'd like to stick around for the next round after we open up again, which would be probably 10 or 15 minutes, you're more than welcome to. The Village Board of Village Pewaukee will enter into closed session pursuant to statute 1985 1C to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility specifically regarding the village treasurer, deputy treasurer, and operations supervisor position. I would look for a motion to move into closed session.
Motion to move into closed session, Rhodey?
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Grabowski.
Yes.
Trustee Kreuzer.
Yes.
Trustee Pater.
Yes.
Trustee Rhodey.
Yes.
Trustee Self.
Yes.
Yes. We'll wait to see if there's anybody out there.
I'm gonna turn your mic back.
Ah, someone waited.
She stayed.
Hi.
Hi. Well, we'll get to you in a minute. Okay, we're gonna do the first one, review discussion of possible action on the appointment of a village treasurer. Are there any questions, comments, and do I have a motion?
Make a motion to, are we naming it, or is that? are we
We'll
just-
name the candidate and cite the salary discussed in closed session.
Not the number.
Not the number.
What is Colin's last name? I don't have it. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Colin Palm to village treasurer at the salary discussed in closed session.
Second, Rhodey.
Okay, we have a motion and a second discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Review discussion and possible action on appointment of a village deputy treasurer.
Make a motion to approve Allison Kavanaugh as the village deputy treasurer as discussed,
At the salary discussed.
as the salary is discussed.
Thank you.
Second, Grabowski.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Review discussion and possible action on the operations supervisor.
Make a motion to approve the salary as discussed in closed session for operations supervisor.
Second, Kreiser.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Adjournment?
Motion to adjourn?
Oh, you can have it, trustee Rhodey. I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ladies and gentlemen, we are hereby adjourned. Thank you
Welcome aboard.
very much for the meeting. It was great.
Congratulations, Allison. I'll get to work. Get to work.